Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Heavyweights Podcast. In one corner, standing at 6'3", 290 pounds of solid chicken wings, Dustin Urban. And this corner at 6'7", 280 pounds, the one, the only, Big Daddy Nick Klein.
What's up, everyone? I'm Nick Klein, Big Daddy. Next to my left here is Dustin Urban. Welcome you back to episode 3 of the Heavyweights Podcast here. We're just going to jump right into it. Everybody watched the game last week. The ratings were up for the first time in 4 years, mostly because, thank God, Tom Brady and the Patriots weren't in it. But we all know the Chiefs won 31-20. They were down 20-10 early in the fourth. Mahomes threw another interception. It was just a bad throw, and from there, it looked like the 49ers were going to seal it, and then Mahomes and that offense happened. Everything happened that I said was going to happen last week. You didn't listen to me. I don't know why you're an idiot, but I gave you all the statistics, all the facts of what had happened every game this year, what had happened with Kansas City. Their defense was better. You can't shut that offense down for 4 quarters, and you still don't listen to me.
Hey, I'll admit when I was wrong, but San Francisco had it for 3.5 quarters, and then Kansas City did what they do. And Mahomes won the MVP for a reason.
See, I don't think Mahomes should have personally won an MVP. I should have thought it should have been Damian Williams.
Damian Williams had
over 100 yards rushing and was a factor in the receiving game. And just before we get anything else, we've got some actual guests in the studio today. Well, it's not really a studio. It's just my spare bedroom that we turned into an office. But I would introduce them. We'll do it later. We're now on our 4th or 5th take. Someone either can't stop laughing, or when I ask people several times to shut off their phone, they won't do it. So I'm just not even going to get to them right now. But we're just going to jump back into the Super Bowl. What exactly went right for the Chiefs?
They started playing their brand of football. They started making big plays down the field. That 3rd and 15 was the biggest factor, or the biggest swing in the game. Mahomes found Tyreek Hill for, I think, 44 yards or 40.
It was something like that. I thought it was unreal for the first 2.5 quarters, first half. Outside of little moments, it didn't seem like it seemed like the stage was too big for Mahomes. The passes were short. He looked flustered. Bosa and Armstead were getting to him. They were getting pressure, and they were keeping him in the pocket. But something clicked eventually. Like I said, you can't shut this offense down for 4 quarters. Hill was getting loose. Sammy Watkins had another great game. Kelsey, I personally think, is clearly the best tight end in football, was a factor. But their running game opened up everything. And once that Kansas City defense figured out how to contain the rushing on the outside with the sweeps they had to Deebo Samuel, they couldn't move the ball anymore. And the defense was on a full attack mode, and it just seemed like everything went out the window for San Francisco.
I feel like San Francisco gave up on the run game too early in the second half, but that's just...
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's because they were moving the ball well here and there. I think it's more or less Kyle Shanahan's play calling. And a good example is the end of that first half. Kansas City goes for it. They have to punt the ball, and with a minute left, they run, I think, 2 run plays in a row. And then out of nowhere, Kansas City calls a timeout, and it just clicked in Shanahan's mind, hey, we should start throwing it. That's when they had that 38-yard pass completion to George Kittle, which I don't think that was offensive pass interference. I don't know why they called it. And they seemed to let the players play this game, which was nice for a change, and not let it get decided by a ref. But I think you let that go in that situation, but they wasted so much valuable time at the end of the first half. And you thought he would have learned his lesson from, 3 years ago, when he just threw out everything again. You're up. You think you got this game. I know there was 11 minutes left, but you're only up by 10, and this offense can score quicker than anybody, and I think in the history of the NFL, and you just abandoned it again, and you let it happen.
Stopped playing their brand of football. I mean, there wasn't much that they got going in that fourth quarter. It was just all Kansas City from 7 minutes on. After that 3rd and 15, as soon as they scored that touchdown, I looked at everybody that I was around, and I was like, Kansas City's about to win this game.
Well, once they went ahead, I think it was Mahomes' rushing touchdown that put them ahead. The Kelsey touchdowns before that. I knew it was over when they had to put the ball in Garoppolo's hands. I said it multiple times that Garoppolo was the best play-action quarterback in the league this year, and everything was set up because of the run, and that's where he was finding success. He cannot perform in tight clutch situations. He showed it against Seattle this year.
He missed some big throws down the stretch.
I think he started the second half 9 of 10, and then for the rest of the game he was 2 for 10 with that terrible interception.
He missed Kittle wide open on the post route that I seen. I'm pretty sure he went to Samuel, and he missed that throw. But Kittle was
Samuel
wide open. But Kittle was wide open, and he might have been Emmanuel Sanders, actually.
If you're talking about the Sanders play at the end of the fourth quarter.
No, I'm not talking about that one. It was the drive before that. Okay. He missed Kittle wide open on a post right over the middle, and it cost him.
Emmanuel Sanders looks like he's lost a step to me, though. I mean, I know he's been around for a while. He's great in the middle.
He's coming off that Achilles injury, too.
Well, and I don't know how old he is off the top of my head. I want to say 29 or 30, but he was obviously at his best with Peyton in Denver because he could work the middle.
Who isn't?
Well, I mean, a lot of people. Yeah, I know. But everything seemed to go well for San Francisco, but they couldn't get Mahomes to the ground. Yes, they had 4 sacks. They could get pressure on him. They got him to fumble twice. Luckily, Kansas City got that back. It's just nothing was swinging their way. I know they had the 2 interceptions, but like I talked about, that cover 3 defense went soft again. You can't constantly press Tyreek Hill. He was going to get open and find space, and once Mahomes was able to shift into the pocket, step up instead of going out, he was able to start manipulating down the field, and that's just what opened up that entire Kansas City offense. And the fact that they were able to run the ball against one of the better rush defenses in the league. Damian Williams probably had the game of his life.
Like you said, though, Mahomes started extending the plays after those sacks, and he started finding people down the field, and that's when they really started taking over the ball game.
Either way, that's fine. I mean, I was right. You were wrong.
I'll take that one on the chin. We'll see what happens next year.
No, you're going to always be wrong when it comes to me. But I guess the next question is where we go. Where do the 49ers go from here? You can talk all you want about Brady, California boy, wants to come back.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I could care less. I think you stick with Garoppolo because if you bench him at this point, you're just saying you've given up on him. He didn't have a terrible year. I don't think he's elite. He's probably a top 14 quarterback in this league right now. You've got to get some more weapons on offense. The defense is young. I think they're the 3rd youngest team in the league at only 26.2 average years of age. Don't quote me on that. But they've got building blocks going forward. Now, they do have to rework. They're going to have a lot of questions coming up on who to re-sign. They're going to probably let Solomon Thomas go. But they've got great pieces in Eric Armstead. D Ford, they have to re-sign this year, I believe.
No,
he
re-signed with the Chiefs before he got traded.
Yeah. That was just a sign-in trade. But, I mean, I think Emmanuel Sanders you let walk. Debo looked good in his rookie year. Unless Emmanuel Sanders can come back on a cheaper team-friendly deal. But you do have to get Garoppolo some weapons. I know you have George Kittle.
George is going in. Next year will be his last year of his contract, so they're going to have to figure out something there.
Well, that's a guaranteed no-brainer. You don't let a player like that walk.
They only have $21 million of cap space going into this offseason.
But that's just this. You don't have Joey Bosa to re-sign yet. You don't have Eric Armstead. Well,
he needs to be
Armstead's re-signed. Yeah. Solomon Thomas isn't up yet. You can work those team-friendly deals. I know they've got some dead money, but they can rework some other key factors. I mean, they've got some good pieces going forward. And the money issue, $21 million, they'll be able to make it work. I know a lot of that's into Garoppolo tied up when he re-signed his extension. But you've got those pieces there to be able to work. Coleman, I don't know if you bring him. I mean, he's good, but do you want him to be your future back? I don't think he's played 16 full games in his entire NFL career.
I don't know if he's a free agent or not.
No, he's not a free agent. No, I know he's got 2 more. He had a 2-year deal.
I think that 1-2 punch with him and Mostert is one of the better ones in the league.
Or is Moser a guy like Peyton Hillis in Cleveland who had 1 good year, got the Madden cover, and then teams figured him out? Like, he doesn't have any traits that just stick out to you off the top. He's not elite at anything. He's great. He had a great few games, but I don't know if that's going to keep. Do you want to go with a guy that is that good, or you think is that good, that wasn't a highly touted guy coming out and came out of nowhere? He's been on practice squads.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but we'll see.
They've got some questions. I think, though, going from here, they're in a better position than anybody in their division. Seattle, the Rams have so much money tied up into Goff and Gurley, and they're in a good spot.
Well, with the 49ers, too, they don't have a lot of draft capital either. They got 1 first-round pick, 2 fifth-rounders, a 6th-rounder, and 2 7th-rounders. So they don't have a lot of high draft picks, but they might be able to find some value late in the draft.
John Lynch has been a pretty good GM so far. Shanahan's had some good eye for draft talent. I think they'll be fine there. You can't put everything into that. I mean, Seattle went to the draft last year without a single first-rounder and only had, I think, 3 draft picks and came out of it with 8 draft picks, and they were just moving around left and right, and they ended up actually doing really well for themselves. We go from there. Let's shift to the Chiefs. A lot of people are asking this. I've seen it all week. Can they maintain their success from here on out?
They got as good a shot as anybody. I mean, they got a lot of free agents coming up, but some of them are some guys that really didn't contribute too much in this game. So, but Chris Jones is their biggest offseason move. He's gonna probably ask for around $20 million a year.
He would have been another guy you could have gone with MVP for this game. The pressure he was able to put on, being able to move. Everybody wants to say he's a D tackle. He's not. He was just a down 3-4 lineman.
Well, Aaron Donald's making about $22.5 million.
He is not on Aaron Donald's level. Don't even get me. No.
I'm not saying
all
that.
Right.
But he is one of the top 5 defensive tackles in the league for sure. And he's
not a defensive tackle. I was just trying to tell you that.
But he lines up a defensive tackle a lot, and he's going to get paid like one.
It's just because Spagnuolo switched the defense. He is not a fucking defensive tackle.
That's fine, but he's not going to make he's going to make around $19 to $20 million next year. I guarantee he's going to ask for that.
What cap space do they have? Do you not have that down?
I don't have that one down.
Okay, well, I'll get into that later. But yes, you got to bring him back. You replaced 9 of 11 starters from the defense from 2018 to 2019. Spagnuolo got a redemption story. He won another Super Bowl. He was the mastermind behind those Giants offenses that beat the Patriots. They've got the players. They look good on defense. They're going to have some money issues. What do they do? If Watkins retires, it's honestly not the end of the world. I hated when they took McCole Hardman out of Georgia in the second round.
Turned out to be all right.
All right? Yeah, he's one of the best kick returners. He's Tyreek Hill 2.0. You've got weapons. I still think you're going to have to address the running back position for them if they want to maintain the success. Damon Williams was a good story. LaShawn McCoy, we know Shady's at the end of his career. He didn't even have a single carry in this game.
He's not coming back. I mean,
if he retires, that's fine. He's a Hall of Famer, I think, in my book. Just one of the.
The Chiefs have about $16 million in cap space, so they're going to have to.
Here's another
move
question.
Some things around if they're going to really improve their team through free agency.
Mahomes is about to get paid, and that's an understatement. He will be the highest paid quarterback of all time, and it's not going to be close. To be Super Bowl MVP, win a Super Bowl and MVP by the time you're 24.
You think they're paying him this offseason, though?
They talked about it. The Hunts have already talked about they're going to get into negotiations with him this summer.
Because he's going into his 4th year of his contract.
Yeah.
And then he's got a 5th-year option that they could pick up.
What you could do is you could unload that as a signing bonus and then dump more of it at the end of his contract, so that way you're getting more through the middle years to supply him with weapons. Andy Reid's not going anywhere. They're going to find talent in the receiving game. I think you do need to address the running back position. Offensive line was solid. I don't think you have any big guys leaving now. Eric Fisher's turned into a great player. He wasn't worth the first overall pick, but then again, Luke Jokel went second right behind him, and he's out of the league. You've got the pieces there. They can absolutely maintain this because right now you have Mahomes in the AFC, and then a step below him, Deshaun Watson's playing well. You've got Lamar Jackson, who can keep getting better. But do you have another elite quarterback? Because you do need an elite quarterback in today's game to win the Super Bowl. There's no question about it.
Right. I think the biggest question is what will happen with Tom Brady possibly going into the future. That'll be his biggest nemesis.
If you want to jump subjects, that's cool. I have this all written up here right for you, and that's not even next.
I wasn't saying to go to that next.
No, we'll go to it now, man. No, you brought it up. Brady's going to the Raiders. Unless I saw a report late Sunday night that the Patriots are willing to offer him 2 years, $60 million. I don't know why, because he's going to be 44 next year.
At least 43.
He's 44. He wasn't that great. That defense carried him. He was looking at houses in Las Vegas. They've got an established offensive line. They don't have that great of a receiving core.
They don't have any receiving core.
Well, Tyrell Williams started the year great, fell off, but they do have a great. Well, they got Hunter Renfrow too, he's already like 30, on. But he had a good rookie year. Darren Waller at tight end's great. Josh Jacobs. Yeah, sorry.
He had a good rookie year.
A great rookie year. Their offensive line, he already knows that left tackle in Trent Brown, who's 6'8", 6'9".
I just don't see him going there. I think.
And where else do you see him going? Because nowhere else makes sense. Jacksonville can't afford him.
The Chargers could make sense.
Why? That defense could make a jump. Derwin James is going to play a full year next year.
They have offensive weapons. If Bosa. They can bring back if they can bring back Melvin Gordon, which I don't think he's coming back, but
I mean, they're going to get him on the cheap if he comes back now because he held out and he didn't do shit this year.
right, but
He had fumbling issues again. His yards per carry were the lowest they'd ever been in his entire career. He just wasn't the same person.
that's what happens when you don't get a full training camp.
We got someone in the
You know,
audience that just keeps nodding his head and he's a goddamn idiot. It's Reeves. If you're listening to this, he's my next door neighbor. If for some reason he's a Jets fan, he's not the smartest person. But Gordon had a terrible year when he came back. What was that, week 7 or
I think
8?
the only good game he really had was against the Packers, and whenever they went out west, they just didn't show up.
But I can see him going there. He's a California boy.
I just
You
feel
know,
like
it's
they're
LA,
a team
they-
that's one piece away, and
I think they're more than one piece. And
think-
for anybody that's a Colts fan, there's no way in hell he's coming to Indy. Ballard will never pay that much.
I just don't even want him to come to.
I don't. If it made sense if this was 8 years ago, I'm all for it. Like I would. It'd be like LeBron coming here because I'm a Pacer fan. I would hate it initially. You can shake your head all you want if you're at home and listening to this if you're a fan. But if he's bringing championships here, which we never had with Reggie, or if Peyton never won one here, if they win a Super Bowl, you're gonna love Brady for that. It's still going to suck. Like I would want us to win a Super Bowl with him throwing 4 interceptions and only throwing for 100 yards. But he had the leadership qualities. You're getting that out of Brady if you sign him to a team. The leadership's there, but what are you going to do?
We're gonna move on to the NFL awards next.
Yeah, I mean, we skipped subjects because you wanted to bring up Tom fucking Brady, so I'm still talking about
I
it.
was just bringing up Tom Brady because you were mentioning quarterbacks that he was gonna have to go against in the future.
You're a nightmare, fine. The next, we're going to go over the NFL awards. We can battle back and forth on this. I know everybody said they seem to be happy with almost who won every single award. MVP, Lamar Jackson, I think that's a no-brainer. There's
Nobody
no
can
reason.
question
No.
that.
Mahomes didn't play a full year. It was the only other person that was close. At the beginning of the year, Matt Stafford had some steam. Dalvin Cook had some steam. Christian McCaffrey obviously had a great year, but no one did what Lamar did.
Russell Wilson, he had a great year, but it wasn't on Lamar Jackson's level.
I think once Russell Wilson didn't win his division and didn't keep winning, and they
pretty much
struggled
over.
against Philly. Once he struggled against Philly, I think that game was 9-3.
And he
finally.
lost the head-to-head matchup against the Ravens, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, Rookie of the Year, Kyler Murray. Are you okay with that?
I'm good with it. I mean, we covered it last week, but him and Cam Newton are the only two quarterbacks to ever have 3,500 yards passing and 500 yards rushing. I like Josh Jacobs. I thought he could have got it, but I would go with Kyler Murray.
That's not bad. And I didn't say Offensive Rookie of the Year, so it's okay to be a defensive player. Nick Bosa was solid. I don't think he didn't come on until late. I think being hurt at the beginning of the year hurt him. I like Kyler Murray.
He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, but collective Rookie of the Year was Kyler Murray. Now, here's what I don't like. Defensive Player of the Year was Stephon Gilmore. I know he was a shutdown corner for the Patriots. They were the number 1 ranked defense in the league. They tailed off the end of the year. I think TJ Watt should have won this. He wreaked havoc. The only reason it seemed like for weeks that defense kept them in the game, TJ Watt was right there, constantly causing turnovers, having strip sacks, interceptions. Gilmore, decent year. I mean, he was an All-Pro, so decent year is an understatement. It's just I think you could have went that way, or you could have went with Shaquille Barrett down in Tampa Bay,
yeah, he had a
who
great
led the league
year.
in sacks.
Career year.
A career, he's going to get paid too. He come here on a 1-year deal from Denver down to Tampa. Unreal. I don't like the Stephon Gilmore pick.
If they would have finished the year more strong, I could definitely see it, but you're right.
I mean, it takes a lot for a corner to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think the last one was Darrelle Revis. Did he win? Yeah, it had to have been Darrelle Revis, who was a shutdown.
But you can look at the stats. I'm sure Revis made more plays than Gilmore did.
No one just threw it. Literally, Revis Island was a thing because no one would
Right.
throw at him. Like Peyton Manning, AFC Championship game in 2009, targeted Reggie Wayne 3 times and just picked him apart with Pierre Garçon and Dallas Clark because he knew, that's fine, you have the best defensive player in the league. I'm not even going to go near him. Peyton was that smart, and plus the Jets suck ass. So, I think we could have had a better player there. Now, Offensive Player of the Year, also to me, no-brainer, Michael Thomas. Unfortunately, broke Marvin Harrison's receptions record, but just no one could guard him. There's a reason why his Twitter handles can't guard Mike.
Yeah, if he didn't set that record, it would have probably been, or it would have been Lamar Jackson. But when you catch the ball,
If you follow the NFL at all, the Offensive Player of the Year never is the same as the MVP. Ever.
I mean, he broke.
It's like a consolidation prize, like in college football, the Heisman, and then you have, I think it's the Maxwell winner.
Yeah.
Player of the Year, and then Heisman. It's never the same. So, like, basically, it's like like you're getting pissed on because they're like, oh, you're cool, but like you're not this good.
I just don't know who else would. Maybe Christian McCaffrey. If
McCaffrey would actually that best.
you had to
running-
find somebody else,
that's actually a good point. Michael Thomas was so dominant. McCaffrey fell off at the end. That Panthers team,
they were a head scratcher.
just went again. I think they lost 9 straight at the end. They even got the crap beat out of them by the Colts, who couldn't beat anybody at the end of the year. Move on to the next subject. It was supposed to be Tom Brady, but Urban's an asshole. So what we're going to do for the next couple of weeks is we're going to pick divisions, and we're going to go over the offseason plans for them. And so this week we're going to start off with the AFC East and NFC East. Start off with the Dolphins, 5-11. They've got $89 million in cap space, which is the most in football. Key free agent signings, the only thing I could really find going through is they want to bring back Fitzpatrick, which I think is a no-brainer. You've got Rosen, not it. Should have never been picked in the top 10. Bring back Fitzpatrick. He's always bad in his second year. If you don't draft Tua Tagovailoa, this allows you to tank for Trevor Lawrence. You've got to build that offensive line. You give away your best offensive lineman trading away for a first-round pick with Laramie Tunsil. You've got one key piece, I think, on the offensive line. They traded with the Colts last offseason for Evan Boehm, who was a backup to Ryan Kelly, and he had a great year again. He's a solid starter. He's not a Pro Bowler, but he is an unrestricted free agent. I think you've got to bring him back.
See what the price is on him, and
It won't be much. I mean, $8-9 million a year. They've got the cap space. You can sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal if he falters off, but he's been a solid player. You have so many holes on this team. I don't even know where to start.
like you said, they got a lot of cap space. They got around $89 million going forward. Maybe they could bring back Clive Walford. He's never really shown anything. He had a few moments with the Raiders when he was on the Raiders, but nothing really big. And Fitzpatrick makes sense to bring him back another year. He can be your bridge to another, whoever they end up getting, like you said.
I mean, I think that's a no-brainer, and they've already stated they want to bring him back if he wants to play. And
the way he played at the end of the year, you got to respect his heart.
I mean, he's always done that. A couple years ago, he almost led the Jets to the playoffs, or did he lead the Jets to the playoffs? No, they were 9-7, could have won in. I think he threw 20-some touchdowns, and
100 picks, but
no, not that year. They re-signed him, and then he shit
the next
bed.
year.
It's always the next year he shits the bed. What do you want?
He set the Jets' passing touchdown record in the season.
That's real hard when you have quarterbacks like Vinny Testaverde. Shut up. Anyway. Been waiting to do that all the time.
The Dolphins, they have a lot of draft capital. They got 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, 3 fifth-round picks, 3 sixth-round picks, and a seventh-round pick. So
take a page out of the Raiders' playbook, like what Mayock did last year.
Right.
Don't trade around. Don't trade. If Tua Tagovailoa is there at 5, take him. I think you can let him sit for a year as long as he passes his medical, which we'll get into the NFL draft next week. We'll reveal our mocks. But you take him and you bridge him. If not, build depth. You have so many holes. It's unreal. You've had one winning season since Jay Fielder or
Jay Feely or whatever.
was there after Marino left. You won the division.
They've had a couple winning seasons actually.
You won the playoffs once, right?
They had good wild with Chad Pennington.
All right. In the
last they've
15
had more
years,
than one.
Since they had the first overall draft pick when they took Jake Long in the 2008 draft, they won the division next year, mostly because Brady tore his ACL, and the Bills and Jets are just trash too. So like it's literally who could have not shit the bed the most to win that division. You've got to just build depth, create competition, kind of like what the Colts have tried to do, what other teams have tried to do. San Francisco did that, John Lynch did that, but you just best player available from here on out for the entire draft. I don't care if you draft 2 defensive ends and a linebacker in the first round or 2 defensive ends and a wide receiver. If they are higher on your board, you are not making reaches.
Look for the Lions to try to trick them to trade up to that number 3 spot. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe. But then we get to the next interesting team. The Jets went 7-9 after looking abysmal to start the year. They beat Dallas and then for some reason decided to start winning games late. They've got $49 million in cap space, 13th most in the league. They've got some more interesting free agents, I thought, when I was looking at it to sign. Ryan Khalil, let him go.
Robbie Anderson.
But Khalil, you brought back out of retirement from Carolina. I thought he could do something. That wasn't the move, which actually surprised me. Robbie Anderson's probably their biggest question mark. He's been up and down, but he had another good year. but he disappears in games too much for me to like. But I'm okay with bringing him back, but at what cost? How much is that 3 to 4 year deal going to cost you in guaranteed money?
Get him for $8-9 million a year.
But are you saying he's a number 1 wide receiver, or are you saying what he needs to be is he's a 2 or 3?
Yeah, he's a 2.
Okay. But that's how they see it. Demaryius Thomas, I thought they should have used a little more this year. He's probably gone. Bilal Powell and Ty Montgomery, though, good change of pace backs behind Le'Veon Bell, who they've got to fix this offensive line because he is, at least to me, he is still one of the best running backs in the league. They were dead last in yards per drive, dead last in yards per play, had the least amount of drives. That offense didn't exist this year. I mean, ghosts were clear there the entire year.
I just feel like they got to find some weapons to put around Sam Darnold and, like you said, fill the holes on the offensive line. Luckily, they've got all their draft picks and an extra third rounder from the Giants when they traded away Leonard Williams, which was a head scratcher to me, but...
Which is kind of unfortunate. I still wish we had another second-round pick because I'm a Colts fan because they drafted up to get Sam Darnold. Idiots. I know, there is, for some reason, we have one Jets fan in this.
Yeah, Reeves, what do you think about the Jets?
Well, it all starts filling that offensive line like you guys were saying. They got to get Sam Darnold help.
Do you think Sam Darnold's the answer?
I do. I think he literally is the
Give
answer.
me a beer.
You got to get the guy help. He's only in his second year. I think quarterbacks need at least 3 to 4 years to prove themselves in this league with the right people around him.
He took a step back this year, though. I would have agreed with you a year ago.
I think he took I think he was about the same.
Did you watch any of your games this year?
19 touchdowns, 13
Okay, 19
picks.
touchdowns. This isn't 1982.
True, but he stayed the same.
Worst offense in the league. One of the worst in the last 10 years, and you're okay with this.
Well, at the offensive line that we had, yeah, I'm okay with that because our offensive
That's
line
not-
was straight up garbage. You can't throw.
Andrew
the
Luck
ball
had
every
one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen and still threw for over 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards.
Andrew Luck was a different breed of quarterback.
Matt Stafford hasn't had a great offensive line almost his entire career. Has looked better than Sam Darnold.
So far, do you remember? Stafford was not that great.
He was still going to throw for 4,500 yards and 20 to 30
when he first
touchdowns.
started out, he also had Megatron.
Okay.
Do our Jets have crusty ass Demetrius Thomas and Robbie Anderson who's in miss?
And that's your fault. You gave up too much to pull up.
I agree with that. I wish the Jets would sit back and literally kept McCown and just drafted Quentin Nelson, which we all know is an all-pro guard.
Well, that wasn't going to happen. You needed a quarterback then because who was your quarter? You were moving on from Fitzpatrick.
McCown at the time.
McCown, okay.
Yeah.
Who
our last 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, if you think he's the guy, not you, but if they thought he was the guy, you got to give up what they gave up.
you do. It just,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. He might be the guy. He might have a better third year. He just did not look good the entire year.
Mono really.
He had a little stretch, and obviously
A little stretch.
when we were on that 3-game winning streak, he was looking really good. He had, I believe, the highest completion percentage at the quarterback at the time during that stretch.
I'll research
Then
that
we
and
went to
reference that next week because I
Cincinnati
highly doubt
and-
you're right.
We went to
You tend to
Cincinnati,
make shit up.
And no, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. But we got to fill that offensive line, give him protection. Le'Veon still had 752 yards rushing, even though it was way down here, and Gase didn't use him.
No, that's another problem.
Whatsoever.
Gay shouldn't have been brought back as the head coach.
I
and
agree
that's
with
my
you
opinion.
110%.
He hasn't done anything since Chicago and Denver.
Agreed.
When Peyton Manning's basically your offensive coordinator, you're going to look good no matter what. See what he does. Hopefully Sam Darnold's ghosts are gone from that Monday Night Football game. But they've got some holes. The offensive line's got to be number 1.
Exactly.
The defense should have been better what it was. Personally, they have the best safety in football, in my opinion. And Jamal
He's a
Adams.
beast.
He can do everything. You've got
Hopefully
to.
they don't give him away to the Cowboys.
No, the Cowboys would have to give up too
They're gonna
much,
have
and
to
then
probably
they're also going to have to
go away.
re-sign him. The Cowboys, we'll get to them here in a little bit. Let's move on from the Jets because no one should spend 5 minutes talking about the Jets. All right, so the Bills, who had a surprisingly a good year, they had one of the better defenses. They finished 10-6. They blew that lead against Houston in the playoffs. They've got the third most cap space at $80 million, but they've got some major decisions to make. They've got Jordan Phillips, the former second-round pick from Miami, had 9 sacks this year. You've got to re-sign him. I think he's only 26 or 27. And then you got Shaq Lawson, the former first-round pick, who had his best year. We're on the side of caution because it was a contract year. He had 6.5. He never had more than 2. They did use him a little more. And then you have the former first-round pick for the Texans in 2015 out of Wake Forest, Kevin Johnson, corner, who looked decent. The defense has obviously been the key there. You still want to build around Josh Allen, but you've got to bring back, I think it's a no-brainer to bring back Jordan Phillips. Most people haven't probably heard of him, but he was one of their better players on the defensive front, who paired with Ed Oliver, who looks unreal already, which I know he slid in the draft at the character questions and stuff like
Putting
that.
the coat on and
Yeah, well, I mean, that's his fault for signing with Houston and expecting to win a national title. I mean, you've got to have some give and take. You're a 5-star recruit.
I like the direction the Bills are heading. I think another guy they need to try to bring back is Lorenzo Alexander.
Who's 37?
I mean,
He's 37, right?
just a plug. Oh,
I
did
think
he retire?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just a plug for another year. He can help.
No,
your
he's
defense.
done. I mean, offensive line could use some work there. Give Josh Allen some help.
Right.
Bring back Frank Gore. Love that man. I think he's going to keep running until he's 55 and he files for his AARP card. He can do anything. Get him some help, for the love of God.
He did a lot with what they gave him.
And
Cole
stop
Beasley.
taking hits.
Right. He's not going to. He's going to keep running. He thinks he's a big bad man.
I mean, he's deep, but he's because he hasn't anybody to throw to.
Right. He's got.
When
to
Cole
run
Beasley
around.
is your best receiver, you've got a goddamn problem. You had no right being in the playoffs, but that is your best. Like, defense can win championships, but you still have to be able to move the ball consistently. He's got a cannon of an arm. He makes some questionable throws. He struggles at times with receipt. I think he only completed, I want to say, only around 59% this year, which was up from his rookie year. But you've got to get him some help. He's one that I think just kind of stayed the same from his rookie year, from that rookie class 2 years ago. He didn't really move up. He didn't really move down. But they were able to win games mostly because of that defense.
Yeah, he looked lost a couple times in that playoff game. He really struggled down the stretch there. He made some good throws, but I don't know. Like you said, he needs some weapons. But he made some really bad decisions when they were going in for a field goal to maybe, I don't know if they were going to tie it or win it with that field goal. But he took like 3 sacks in a row and really threw.
I think it was to tie it.
Yeah.
He's
I know, you just gotta get rid of the ball. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You just gotta know when to eat it and when to get rid of it. But he was also running around like Fran Tarkington trying to make plays, and he's getting sacked.
When was the last time
13
you
yards.
watched Fran Tarkington play?
I've never personally watched him.
You ever watched the
live.
highlight?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have. Yeah, I have
We
actually.
just threw that out there like you just sit at home all night, like naked on your computer
I,
and watch
I
Fran Tarkington.
I actually like Fran Tarkington.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's a name you don't hear about a lot, and most people haven't heard about.
But they got a lot of draft capital moving forward. First round draft pick, second round. They got 2 5th rounds, 2 and 3 6th rounds. So they can fill some holes in really this year.
Yeah, I mean, I like where they're going. I love McDermott, their coach. The defense is there. They've got building blocks. It almost seems like Ravens-esque with a better quarterback. And I'm not talking Ravens now. I'm talking Ravens early
Super Bowl,
2000s,
Super Bowl
mid 2000s. Even you can even do their last win with Flacco. They've got a key piece.
He does kind of remind you of Flacco, just except for the running
He's
part.
more, as I say, he's a hell of a lot more athletic. Flacco's done, by the way, but that's fine. I think they can build on this. We'll see where they go. Buffalo fans, we all see the videos. They're absolutely amazing, breaking tables left and right.
Anytime you put somebody through a table, you got my heart.
You're an idiot. Let's go to the Patriots. 12-4. We all hate them. We know that. They got $45 million in cap space. Obviously, Brady. We're not going to keep talking about that. It's time to move on, I think. If they want to pay him $60 million, good for them. They can tie up their money because they've got some key pieces to re-sign this year. Devin McCourty's up. Shaky year, but still an average starter. But Kyle Van Noy, who is a heart and soul of that defense, almost like a Teddy Bruschi back in the day or Richard Seymour. They've got to bring him back. I know he's 29. You've got to bring him back. Jamie Collins, who they've got back from after shipping him off to Cleveland, didn't do anything there. He had a career bounce back year.
He looked really good.
Looked
coming back
amazing for a while, at least until that defense took a taper off at the end
about
of the season.
week 11.
Yeah, I think it was a little later than that. But Philip Dorsett, I think, depending on the price, he looked good at the beginning of the year. He's got the speed. Brady didn't have the arm strength. I think you can. Belichick can manipulate plays for that. I think he'd still be good on a 2-year deal. You bring him back in the slot like like an Ishmael, Rakib Ishmael, or
Rocket Ishmael.
Yeah, there's two different ones, but yeah, streaky down the field. And then Danny Shelton. I'm going to reference this a lot, especially with the next division we do. Former first-round pick, god-awful. But who drafted him? The Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, you let him walk. They took a flyer on him, traded for him. I don't know where you sit on this, but I think no matter what, you bring back Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, you got to bring him back. I think you got to find a way to get Jamie Collins, though.
I don't think he goes anywhere. He knows that system works for him.
We've
seen this a lot with Patriots players. The system works there for them.
Because they're real big on special teams. I think they're going to find a way to bring back Matthew Slater. He makes
4 Pro Bowls for him? He didn't make it this year, but I think
he's a hell of a player.
And he'll take a team-friendly deal. Yeah, so you're talking a 2-year deal, maybe $800,000 a year.
I think they got to find a kicker. I mean, maybe Nick Folk stays another year, but...
Yeah, I know, so...
I don't know. They got a few good draft picks. They got a first rounder, a second rounder, 3 third rounders.
Their first round draft picks haven't really panned out in the last few years. Isaiah went out of Georgia, missed his entire rookie year.
Sony Michel, he just went off the. I don't know what happened.
He didn't have a great year in his
rookie year. But their
year.
offensive line was suspect this year too.
He didn't have a great year his rookie year either. His yards per carry, if you look at that, and his missed tackle usage rate was down. He's supposed to be a bruiser, but he can't make people miss. Isaiah Wynn, like I said, missed his entire rookie year, came back for like 5 weeks, got hurt, came back again. Doesn't look great because he's from Georgia. Keneal Harry doesn't look great.
Play half the year.
They could have taken Deebo Samuel there. There's a lot of DK Metcalf.
Right.
So many other receivers. I get you love that size. He didn't really produce at all.
We'll see what he can do next year.
Yeah. Well, I hope nothing. I hope this is the end of it. I don't think so because Belichick is still the GM.
Hopefully
they're great in the later
spots with
rounds.
the Dolphins.
I don't want the Dolphins to win either. I just don't like this entire division. I mean, the Colts played in it for years.
Hey,
I have a friend
Bills.
that's a Dolphins fan. He's a lifelong disappointment. My next door neighbor is a Jets fan. He's never seen a team win. So that makes me happy, but I don't like them all. Let's transition to the NFC. We'll go with the NFC East. The Redskins, we thought that was the tank for Tua with the Dolphins. We thought those were by far the 2 worst teams, and then the Bengals just said, hold up, look at us. They've got $38 million in cap space. They've got one of the best free agents, I think, on the open market coming up that they've got to re-sign. I doubt he wants to come back there. Brandon Sharif, the former 5th overall pick.
A lot of people don't know about him, but he's
an elite guard. He was drafted as a tackle, obviously. Usually you don't see guards go that high. He's not coming back. Trent Williams isn't even going to come back. Dan Snyder needs to get as far away from this team as possible and not try to run it, because whatever he is doing has never worked. He brought back Gibbs. He's tried doing so many different things. It doesn't work. I mean, he brought back Gibbs and Shanahan, 2 Hall of Fame coaches. They couldn't win. Gruden wasn't bad. Jay Gruden was not bad. He won with Kirk Cousins. He got him to the playoffs. Cousins had some great years. That roster is just so bad. But Brandon Sharif, if they can bring him back, they need to. I guarantee he walks away because he is going to command $60 to $80 million on
sure
5
there's
years.
Donald Penn too. He's 37 and
Yeah, Penn's been on the decline for a couple years. I mean, that's a former first round pick too. But they got Chris Thompson.
They need to re-sign Eric Flowers to their other guard.
Have you seen him play a snap of football?
They don't have a
that
lot
former
of cap
top
space.
round. He is one of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen in my
They
life.
don't have a lot of cap space, man.
That's fine. Pick up anybody off the street. Hell, I'll go put on pads, and I'm out of shape, and I smoke now, and I play college football.
They don't got a lot of
I
draft
could be
picks,
better
man.
than Eric Flowers.
That's fine, but they don't have a lot of draft picks. And they
He
don't
is
have
one
a
of the
lot
worst. Oh my God, I'm not even kidding. Like, the Giants took him, I think, 8th or 9th overall, and he can't guard shit.
They just
No,
don't.
you let him walk. I had him up next, literally to make fun of him, just like I did Danny Shelton. One of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen in my life.
I just think they got to.
Just even type him in on Google or Twitter, and you're just gonna see funny if any Giants fans listen to this, comment on our YouTube page, and I will give you Urban's number just so you can be like, what the hell? I am dead serious. He's one of the worst I'd ever seen. Are you pulling up any GIFs on Twitter or anything?
They just don't have a lot of wiggle room. That's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
You got Darius Guys coming back from injury next year. I really liked how he came back. I hope he does well. But you got to bring back AP, right? This dude can still run. He is willing to be a backup now.
Maybe Rivera will give him the ball.
No, but you have Darius Guys coming back. But that 1-2 punch, you can still run AP for 1,400 yards if you want to give him the ball every time.
That's
He's
awesome.
not going to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a decent blocker. He is a great leader in that locker room, but damn, he's not slowing down. Like, obviously, he isn't what he is like years ago. See? Sorry, someone just pulled up in the audience. Twitter, Eric Flowers is not an offensive dude. He is so bad. But yeah, you bring back AP.
That's
Undisclosed.
best.
It's a joke. It's Zach Galifianakis in one of his movies joking around because he is terrible. And look, he's got videos up next. We'll cover that later. But you bring back Adrian Peterson.
Hey, I'm just
You
saying,
pair
they don't
that-
have a lot of wiggle room.
Now, another player that most people haven't heard about is John Bostic. They got him. The Colts had him on a 1-year deal. Yeah, he bounced around a little bit, but he started all 16 games, played 91% of the defensive snaps. He had over 100 tackles, a sack, and an interception. He is a key component for that defense. You've got to bring him back. Give him a 3 or 4 year deal. It doesn't have to be much. It could probably be 12 or 13 million. But with where you're drafting at, you're getting Chase Young.
You have to.
You got Montez Sweat. Kerrigan's still there. He can develop them.
Is it Allen from Alabama that they
Duran
have?
Payne, or is it Duran Payne?
They have both, I think.
No, one of them went to Detroit. One of them went to. All right, hold on. It says Eric Flowers got boned twice on crucial game-changing plays on national TV. I'm gonna pull up on YouTube after this and just have you watch any plays that he's ever played. I mean, you would even go, damn. Like, I've never seen someone that bad, like, who looked decent in Miami. But Bostic's got to come back. Like I said, 34 years. You can probably give him 12 to 16 million. He's a leader of that defense. We've got the defensive lineman. That defensive line has the potential to do exactly what San Francisco did and John Lynch did, and just load up on that first round talent when you get these top draft picks.
Yeah, they got a lot of potential, but we'll see if they.
Sweat looked good. Kerrigan still got some left in the tank, which he can.
Is he a free agent?
No, he is not. He's got 1 more year left. There's been talks of he had a down year. I think he had 6.5 sacks last year.
But bringing in Jack Del Rio, where does he fit in? I know he rushes the passer, but
That allows Kerrigan to rotate.
They're going
with
to switch to a
Sweat.
4-3, you would think.
Which is fine, and he's still quick and off the edge. He's still got that quick burst step.
Maybe
like-
your third down guy to rush the passer, Kerrigan.
Yeah, and when you got Sweat too, which are still coming in. Chase Young, as of right now, looks. I haven't finished my grades on everybody. Looks like the best defensive end I've seen. Probably.
I mean,
It's been a while. No, and this is over Nick Bosa. This is over Joey Bosa. Chase Young looks elite.
he's the all-time leading sack. You know, he broke both of their records in sacks at Ohio State, so I don't think too many people would disagree with that.
I mean, that's records aren't always the same, but yeah, it's a good indication.
he set out he set out for suspension this year, 2 games.
Oh yeah, because someone gave him money to help. College players need to be paid, and I will argue that till the day I die.
Come on.
All right, well, let's go to the Giants, the team that drafted Eric Flowers. They were 4-12 overall. They got $61 million. Thank God Eli left. Great career to him, but they've got Daniel Jones. They're 7th in cap space with $61 million, like I said. A Jets player they traded for, Leonard Williams, you let him walk, right? Like, you have to let him walk. He's an unrestricted free agent. This dude played 14 games this year and had a half a sack. He has disappeared off the face of the earth. I don't know. I get he dropped in the draft. The talent was there. The size was there. The speed. Unreal athlete. But he puts pads on. He turns dumb. Like, there's no other way around it.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with him. They got Marcus Golden.
That's where I was going next. Who signed a 1-year redemption deal. 10 sacks. I mean, through the first 10 weeks, I think it was him and Shaquille Barrett. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You bring him back, but what cost? I think he's 29 or 28.
He's going to be looking for his last big deal, so we'll
It's just
see.
a big deal because they don't have. Let's be honest. They don't have a lot of key free agents up. They do have Cody Latimer, who they brought in 2 years ago. He was the former 2nd-round pick out of IU for Denver.
Yeah,
Peyton famously benched him because he refused to read the playbook. And I'm sorry, if you go play with Peyton, you should probably memorize that because he makes anybody good. But he's had a solid 2 years. Granted, he's had Eli Manning throwing to him, which is hard to catch anything at the last 2 years. And Daniel Jones, who's looked sloppy. Like, he had that great start the first 3 games or whatever, but he still looks sloppy to me.
he turns the ball over a lot. He fumbles more than.
It'll be interesting to see where he goes this year. I'm still not sold on him. I thought it was a huge reach. I know that my next door neighbor, he's an idiot. He thinks he knows about the draft.
I've
actually been a member of the media, like covered this shit, and he thinks Daniel Jones was just a great pick.
I haven't seen somebody fumble the ball that much since Dante Culpepper.
This is also due to the thought Mark Sanchez was a great pick, but that's beside the point.
I fucking did it.
Yes, you did.
I
You were on
hated that
Skype,
pick.
and I was in college out in Iowa playing football.
I wanted Crabtree.
Anyway, not like it would have been that. Crabtree was decent. I mean,
Giants got all of their picks except for their 3rd rounder, and they have an extra 7th rounder from New Orleans.
squash anything past the 5th round. It's a flyer at that point. You're just drafting on potential and team fit. Mostly team fit at that point because you're not going to bring in a guy that's great in cover 2 and man-to-man, but you run mostly zone. But they've also got Deion Buchanan. I don't know, most people remember him. He was a hybrid linebacker safety drafted in the 1st round.
Just play for Arizona.
Yeah, had a great 2 years. He got benched this year. I think he only started 1 game, played in 14. You let him walk. They did something like the Patriots used to do. Like you give that 4th or 5th rounder to a former 1st rounder. Patriots used to be so good at that, bringing them in, and then just, bam, they're back to you see that potential. It's like, oh yeah, that's why we drafted him that high. But you let him go. Other than that, drafting-wise, depth, where do you go with their 4th? They're picking 4th, right?
They got to pick offensive line, I would think. You got to go.
I don't think you reach there either. Offensive line would be nice for Daniel Jones. This draft also is loaded at receiver. If you like the testing and see what the combine does, if you like a guy, the guy out of Alabama, you've got the Louisville guy who's rising on board, Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa, that's fine. But where do you go if, say, Jerry Jeudy tests out of this world, T. Higgins tests out of this world? It wouldn't be bad to get a receiver.
I just don't. You might trade back then, I guess, if you're them and get
Depending
a
on what the
receiver.
package is. I mean, if Justin Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa are still there, trade back. If you can get a future first or like 3 seconds, like if you got like a team dumb enough to reach up like that, like we've seen over the years that just and I don't mean dumb, like the guy could work out, but just unload their next 2 to 3 years.
Get the Bears to trade up for
The Bears have yeah. Well, that was just one spot. Like
I know,
that
but
blows my mind.
But I don't know. I think they should maybe move, if they're gonna not pick a lineman there, move back and then see what they can get. Because I don't think you're drafting a receiver that high. I just don't think you're going to.
I mean, I think you could. I mean,
They got Golden Tate. They got Sterling
Who's
Shepard.
getting old.
They got Sterling Shepard. He's
Solid.
not terrible.
I mean, he's a good number 2.
And then they got Ingram. What's their tight end's name?
Yeah,
He's all right. He's had some moments, but
he looked decent last year. Daniel Jones,
He's really
the ball.
fast,
He's got his
so-
security blanket.
But
Let's move on. Go to America's team. Whatever. Cowboys went 8-8, $77 million in cap space. Fit. Before I even finish that statement, we all know that that's not going to stay like that. We know where they're going this offseason. It's clear they have to re-sign Dak Prescott, no matter what. You can argue if he's elite or not. He had a great year. And then you need to try to bring back Amari Cooper. He's got the drop issues. He showed it more this year. Again, I still don't think he's an elite receiver. He's maybe top 10 in this league, but you've got to bring back that talent while you have him.
the problem with Cooper is he thinks he's a top 5 receiver. That's the
That's
problem
fine.
with
Then
most
he should
receivers.
hold on to the fucking ball more.
Right, yeah. I'm not saying he's top 5. I'm just saying he thinks he's top 5. I'd like to see him try to
I like the
bring back.
McCarthy bringing in, get a new face. I mean, they should have got rid of Garrett years ago. They've got an elite offensive line. They've got so many weapons. That defense should not have been that bad this year.
They took
Jalen
a step
Smith,
back, for
who's
sure.
one of my favorite players in the league, isn't a monster. Van Der Esch is there, but you got Sean Lee, whose contract is up. He's been hurt his entire career.
I
but
think
when
he
he's
would
played,
take a team-friendly deal, though.
I think he would, but are they willing to bring him back? Because when he is on the field, that defense is better. He is a leader in the locker room and on the field.
Another guy that they're going to be losing is Byron Jones. I mean, he's hit or
Trash.
miss. He's had a few good games
And
this
not
year.
with the top 10. Or no, he was just a first round, late first round. But I think you focus more if you're going with defense.
I just think he's
bring
better than
back
Jeff
Robert.
Heath.
Yeah, no, that doesn't take much.
Right.
Robert Quinn, bring him back.
Yeah, or find
Nothing crazy, but he had his best year since he was. I think he was second in the league in sacks when Mathis won the sack title in 2015 when Mathis had 19 and a half. You bring him back on a 1 or 2 year deal. Randall Cobb gets a little interesting, and so does Jason Witten. If Witten wants to come back, you bring him back. He's still decent enough to play. He's only going to play 30 to 40% of your snaps, but he's worth it. Cobb's looked lost ever since he left Green Bay, but he's not a bad third receiver.
Just depending on what you can get him for.
He's not going to command open money.
But he's really familiar with McCarthy's system, so he could probably really help the rest of the receivers in the room.
That's actually a really, really good point. The first one you've ever had on our show. So.
Fuck you.
It'll be interesting to see where they go. They shouldn't have been 8-8. We all know that. They were just up and down all year because the team that won the division had more holes in them and were able to sneak in late at the Eagles, who struggled in the playoffs. We saw that Wentz went down with a concussion, but they got $40 million to spend, and they've got some major holes. Ronald Darby, the former second-round pick out of, I believe, Rutgers, the year they won the Super Bowl, was solid. He had a down year. Jason Peters, 37. Do you bring him back? If he wants to come back, I say you bring him back. Just like Andrew Whitworth said today that he wants to come back for St. Louis at 38.
St. Louis doesn't have a lot of choices, though.
Well, I mean, we can talk about St. Louis. Shut the fuck up. Jason Peters, you bring him back. Nelson Aguilar, who his first stint in Philly was great. They brought him back. Just let him walk. And same with Jalen Mills, also great Super Bowl run. You get this team some help. The running game saw Miles Sanders looked great this year.
Yeah, he made it to where Jordan Howard's expendable.
No. That 1-2 punch there. Jordan Howard, I think, is underrated. He is a great bruising back. You can bring him in any situation, in any given night, like that Thursday night game this year. He can go off.
It just depends on how much he wants.
Jordan Howard's not a free agent, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he is.
He's not going to be a starter. I think he's a great system fit for what Doug Peterson wants to do. Get some receiver help. Your defensive line is good. You've got Fletcher Cox, who's underrated, who's one of the best defensive tackles in this league. Get some help at corner and just see where you can go from there. But this Eagles team's not nearly where it was 2 years ago. I think their Super Bowl window was 1.5 years. And they're going to have to rebuild again because you also don't know the state of Carson Wentz.
Yeah, they got to find some weapons for him. I mean, Zach Ertz can't do it all. And this is the first year since 1966 that they didn't have a receiver reach 500 yards receiving. So that's...
Well, they took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside out of Stanford in the second round, who I personally loved. Looked like a basketball player in the red zone, could box anyone out. Couldn't even get on the field late in the year when they were having receiver with injury left and right.
You got Alshon Jeffries. He just can never stay healthy. So he might be somebody that you'd look to move maybe. I don't know.
I don't know what you're going to get for him. Bring him back. See if he can stay healthy.
You only got $40 million in cap.
You also don't know what he does in the locker room. He might be a decent leader. I mean, he hasn't had a year like he did with the Bears since he got to the Eagles.
They're always a team, though, that's not afraid to make some moves, trades and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure they're not. That's fine. We can talk about literally forever on each team. We could spend 2 or 3 hours. We are just going to have to move on for the questions of the week. We started doing this on our first podcast. It's actually gone really well for some people. For some reason, people actually ask us our opinions. I think it's mostly because of me, not because of you. But
he's going to harp on that Flyers thing for the rest of the time.
Oh, you're never going to let that down. Plus, you're wrong in the Super Bowl. Whatever,
You can easily be wrong on any game.
I'm usually right.
We'll see.
Okay, whatever. Questions of the week. The first question: should Antonio Brown play again, even if he's cleared?
Yes.
That's a no-brainer. You bring him back. He's already said.
Is it the NFL or what is it? Is this a church
Dante
league?
Stallworth killed somebody, people.
Right.
Jameis Winston didn't get suspended.
Jameis Winston
He
has
ran a guy over in
harassed
Cleveland.
every woman he's ever met.
Dante Stallworth ran a guy over in Cleveland with his Lamborghini. They were like, "Oh, that's cool."
Killed a bunch of dogs. He came back.
He did. We can argue about that all day. He did his prison time. Adrian Peterson spanked his child and got 4 games, which still blows my mind.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
He's going to be back. I don't think anybody can. As long as
he's getting help. He said he needed to apologize. So
as long as his charges
that's another
on the
mental
sexual harassment.
I hope for the sake of us that he comes back because he is still, in my opinion, when he comes back, he is still by far the best receiver in the league. He played 1 game not knowing New England's offense, and they couldn't shut up about how great he was. Brady praised him. They all did. That tells you something. If you go into the Patriots not knowing anything within 6 days, you're starting for them and you score and you're dominating. He's just unreal. He's been bipolar. Let's just go on to the next question. Should Taysom Hill get a shot at starting quarterback for a team in need? I'm going to start this one off because that's not going to happen. They're going to go Teddy Bridgewater. They already said he is the quarterback of the future. They're slowly grooming him. Sean Payton, that is his guy.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Taysom Hill fan. I mean,
I love him.
He
I
makes
don't know
some
what he
good
can
plays
do.
and stuff, but I don't think he's.
Sean Payton slowly Drew Brees is probably going to come back for 1 to 2
He tried
more
to
years.
say he reminded him of Steve Young. I don't know about.
He's
all
got a
that.
can of, but he can do it. It's weird because we haven't seen him
I guess we haven't seen
play
him
quarterback
play a full
enough.
game.
Yeah, but he does everything
But
so
if-
well.
But if he's Steve Young, he's gonna, like Sean Payton said, then he's gonna beat out Teddy Bridgewater for that second spot.
I think it took Steve Young years. He had to be drafted by Tampa,
Taysom
go
Hill's
to the USFL,
30-something.
and then come back. Taysom Hill is not 30-something.
I'm pretty sure he's 30.
He's only in his third year in the NFL.
I think he's 30.
I
man.
think you're completely wrong, but it's
How
just,
old is he?
24, I believe.
yeah, he's not that young. Like, I'm pulling it up now. He's 29.
Okay, yeah.
All right, well, that's surprising. I mean, but the wear and tear on the body hasn't been there yet. I think he's not going to go anywhere. Let Teddy Bridgewater, because you can't afford those three quarterbacks. So there's never going to be a scenario where you have them battle it out. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a starter somewhere next year, or at least get that opportunity. Depends on that team if they draft a rookie, like when Matt McGloin left Green Bay, went to Seattle, signed that. I think it was Matt McGloin, or no, Matt Flynn. And then they drafted Russell Wilson, and then Pete Carroll was like, oh shit, this dude's good. See you later. Next question. How about discussing the possibility of doing away with the onside kicks in favor of
Hell
converting?
no.
I'm all for it.
I don't like that at
I mean,
all.
I didn't watch the Pro Bowl enough. Did they even try it in the Pro Bowl?
I don't think so, but I'm not a fan.
Actually, the rule I'd be more in favor of, which I think almost any casual NFL fan would be okay with, is go to the overtime rules that college football freaking uses. The only downside is for people like me that play fantasy football, that can get real shitty real quick when you're only up a couple and that game goes into overtime.
You don't have to do exactly what college football does,
do something
make it
similar.
like get the ball at the 50 or something.
You're
and
talking
then
about
go
like
in.
everybody
Right.
knows that you're changing the rules so that the offense scores more because that's a better product. Just like the NBA, defense isn't a thing anymore. You want to score.
Right, you can't hand check.
Change it so there's more scoring. Overtime's the first place you
That's
can
exactly
do
what
that.
the NFL wants, so that's right up their alley.
Yes.
The next question, can Lamar Jackson take the Ravens to the next level and make a Super Bowl run?
Yes, he's only played 2 playoff games. Last year, he wasn't even the starter the full year. Peyton Manning crapped the bed against, actually, the Titans in his first playoff game.
Yeah.
That was a bad
A
matchup.
few years later, he got shut out by the Jets.
Yeah, 41-0. Jets still haven't won a Super Bowl. Yeah, laugh all you want. Jets still haven't won a Super Bowl since then. But Lamar Jackson can get him to that next level. He's a better passer than I think people think. They need to get him some more help. They've got Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead's underrated. They can develop on that. They've got to get a little better on their corner. They've got questions at their corners this year because of free agency. We'll get to them later. Linebacker spots, can they get enough pass rush again? But,
Yeah, they still haven't replaced Trail Suggs.
I mean,
It's hard to replace him, but
yeah, that's like saying, oh, we didn't replace Ray Lewis. Well, no shit.
well,
Oh, the Colts didn't replace Peyton Manning. No shit. Lamar can get him to that level. I think he can develop more. As everybody's going to say they're going to keep running the ball. Yes, they are. Why wouldn't you? But he can still throw the ball. The last question, it's not for NFL or college, but can the XFL sustain life or will it tank like the AAF? AFF was a fun product. I loved watching it. It sucked that it ended. Plus, I got to see Trent Richardson again in his whole 2.1 yards per carry. But Vince McMahon has more money. The funding's there. They're trying to make the game quicker. Oliver Luck is the president of the league.
yeah.
They've got a chance here. The money doesn't seem to be an issue. They've got to get through this first year because that's the whole point of it. Like just like the USFL or the XFL the first time. Get through the first year and start getting those media contracts from CBS, Fox, NBC. That's where the money is. That's why the AFL didn't have anything, and they were paying millions just to get on TV. And that's what the XFL's doing. But they've got name people on their rosters. Landry Jones, if you don't know who he is, he played for Oklahoma. Cardell Jones helped win the Ohio State Buckeyes the first college football playoff national championship. He's playing. They've got the name guys.
I like what they're doing so far. They got a pretty good foundation, but we'll see if they can build on it over the weeks.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope it does. All right, so let's go into the last segment of the week, and we know what it is now. It's the six-pack questions of the week.
This is the Six Pack of the Week.
All right, with our first question, what year did Roger Goodell become the NFL's commissioner?
Because Tagovailoa left. 2006.
Right on the nose. What year did the wild card round get added to the NFL playoffs?
What the hell? It would have been after free agency became an actual thing. So that would have been 92.
No,
Before that. So, shit, I'm just going to throw something out there. Then 77.
1 year off, 78. Before Dan Marino set the all-time passing touchdowns record in 1984, who was the record holder?
Dave Fouts.
George Blanda.
Raiders.
How many times have defensive players been named the MVP of the Super Bowl?
4.
8. Who are the only 2 players to win Defensive Player of the Year 3 times?
Defensive Player of the Year 3 times.
Yep.
So J.J. Watt.
Yep.
Lawrence Taylor.
Right, got it.
And then you said there was 3 of them?
No, there was only 2.
Oh, well, my bad.
Besides Tom Brady, what player has the most Super Bowl victories, and it's not a Patriot?
No, it wouldn't. He played for the Cowboys and the 49ers. It's on the tip of my tongue. He played for both of them in the 90s because he literally left the 49ers and went to the Cowboys for their 3 Super Bowl wins.
Is it the
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't know.
Charles Haley.
Yeah, big dude up front, man, just unreal, and was a leader when he got to the Cowboys. Like put some discipline in that locker room.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
But that's all for this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed us. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, to start the off season and talk about the draft.
I don't have a good week.